Since childhood, I loved snorkeling and diving in and around the coral reefs of the Red Sea. In this photo, I am with my father at the southern edge of the Sinai Peninsula. In my hand, I am holding a dead stylophora, a type of a stony coral essential for the building of the reef. I was drawn to the beauty and fragility of corals. Over the years, I dived across the world, always finding in coral reefs a source of awe and healing. With their breathtaking diversity of forms, colors, and life. But then one day, I dived into a reef that was no longer alive. The forms were broken, the colors gone, and the silence was heavy. What I felt that day has a name, solastalgia, coined by philosopher Glenn Albert. Solastalgia is the feeling of watching your home disappear whilst you are still living in it. I felt deep sadness. That dive marked a turning point. For me, seeing reefs not just as a source of inspiration, but also as a call for alarm. As a designer, I had a question that haunted me. How design can help in this huge challenge of saving coral reefs? In order to do so, I had to let down what is current in design thinking mindset. For years, I taught and practiced human-centered design. The idea that everything should revolve around us, humans. But the reefs taught me something different. They showed me that design is not by placing the human in the center, but seeing the human as part of a much larger circles of life and purpose. And from this realization came the foundation of deep design. A design that emerges from the fact that we are part of a much larger circles of life. So we are part of an interconnected ecosystems where every part influences the whole. So deep design is relevant to many of the challenges we face today. One of them is that coral reefs are dying at an alarming rate, driven by rising sea temperatures, pollution, and overfishing. Scientists estimate that by 2050, almost 90% of all coral reefs will be gone. Their loss will threaten the biodiversity of almost 25% of all the marine life and the livelihoods of millions of people. Establishing the Design Tech Lab at the Technion, we focused our research on nature-centered design. I followed a simple intuition that the way forward would be to 3D print natural ceramic. So I ordered the largest 3D printer I could find. While others built coral reefs, artificial one, using concrete, metal, plastic, and even old tires, we chose the sustainable path of experimenting with natural clay. It's about its porosity, its ability to host the smallest forms of life because of this mineral composition, to nurture young corals, and to hold the healthy microbiome of a reef, ideal for corals to grow and endure. We tested and experimented with the clay composition, the texture, the complexity, creating and studying hundreds of ceramic samples to find what best for marine life to grow. And then we explored new ways to design and construct 3D printed reefs using fast and efficient algorithms and generative design. It wasn't just the team of designers in my design tech lab. Each one took a specific focus of research in this huge challenge. But we also collaborated with marine biologists, ecologists, material scientists, NGOs, and professional divers. Each perspective, each view mattered. This is the essence of deep design. Design that emerged from carefully listening to the ecosystem and collaborating with experts to solve them. I will never forget the first time we installed one of our 3D printed reefs in the Red Sea. At first, it looked like a totem sculpture sitting quietly underwater, but slowly, life began to gather. Tiny fish, shy at first, darting in and out the cavities, coral larvae and algae cling to the surface of the ceramic. And in less than 3 years, all the ceramics was almost completely covered with underwater flora and fauna. The reef was no longer a design object, it became alive, bursting with color and beauty, were stony corals and soft corals and other forms of life, covering every surface. Since then, we collaborated with partners to learn how to 3D scan healthy reefs, recreate them by printing, and test them at the sea. We developed modular units. Intricate texture enable us to install and plant coral fragments. We also developed new ways to combine community co-creation, ecotourism, and sustainable economic models that will make the project viable and scalable. Like this project in Beka Island in Fiji. Every time I dive to visit the 3D printed reef, one of them, I am astonished by the proof that this approach can heal reefs, but also create them or generate them from scratch. We created the deepest 3D printed reef, laying 40 meters, like 135 feet, under the surface on a barren seafloor on the Gulf of Eilat. We learned that fish are drawn to the gentle electric field of the reef structure, and that both coral larvae and fish will arrive to our reef even from miles away. When I think back to my childhood dives, I remember this feeling of wonder drifting, weightless, among corals and fish. But today this memory carries responsibility, because coral reefs are not just beautiful. They are extremely, extremely fragile, and they are calling us to act. For those curious children of today, like my son here in the picture diving with me around our largest 3D printed reef, but also for those generations yet to come. Deep design offers a way to approach complex and interconnected challenges. But it's not about Mars shot. It's about our only home, planet Earth, and its oceans. If we can design a living, flourishing reef by placing the ecosystem back in the center, the ecosystem that sustains us, they can survive and evolve. And by doing so, perhaps so will we. So the next time, if you consider to face a complex challenge, maybe you can approach it by deep design. As I was, you might be astonished by the result. Thank you.